Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Behind the Veil, a show that provides insight into the world of weddings. I'm your host, Keith Willard. Welcome to the show. Today, we're going to be talking about branding. What is it? How do you find it? How do you create it? How do you mold it? And how do you use it? Because honestly, if somebody asked me today, what is my brand? I don't know if I would know how to answer that. But luckily, we have an expert in branding. Her name is Kate Patay, and I'll be bringing her on the show shortly. But first, let me introduce our Behind the Veil crew. First is Marcy Gutenberg with an affair to remember by Marcy. Hi, Marcy.
Hello, how are you today?
I'm good. Welcome to season 2.
I know, exciting.
I know. So,
What a way
Brooke.
to start it off.
Well, and there's Brooke Logan-Stoner, always beautiful.
Salutations, everyone. Hi, Marcy. Thank you, Keith.
Seriously, season 2, guys. I mean, it's our first episode of season 2. I can't even believe it that we've gotten to this point, and I couldn't think of a better guest to have open our season 2 than Kate Patay. So I don't know if you guys know Kate. I mean, Marcy knows Kate, but I don't know if Brooke knows Kate. But Kate Patay is the Chief Strategy Officer of Patay Consulting, a firm designed to help businesses and individuals discover and amplify their authentic brand and image. Kate, welcome to the show. Oh, she's like,
that's so fast.
There she is.
Well, you know, I think I really want to start this show off with finding out, because when people talk about brand, you know, that seemed to be a catchphrase for millennials for the last couple of years. It's like, oh, that's my brand. What does that mean when somebody says, oh, that's my brand?
Your
What's
brand
kind of a joke?
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's a catchphrase for sure with some people. Your brand is really that how you come across, how you sound, the tone of voice, and it's across every single platform out there. So whether you hear me speaking now or you're seeing my blogs, you're seeing what I'm posting online, it should all go back to your brand, your voice, that really specific image that people know that it's you. And your brand for your company is really, think of it as very strategic. It's not tactical. Your brand is your strategy, who you are to people, what you are. Whereas your marketing is then your tactical side of things. So that's really the difference with it. That brand is how you should always sound to everybody across the board.
Well, and it was interesting. I mean, we've had Megan Ely on, and you know, Megan is the PR guru of wedding industry. She's amazing, and she was great about discussing the difference between PR and marketing. That PR is when people give you free, you know, that suggest you for free. Marketing is when you pay people to say nice things about you. You know, where does branding fall into that world of marketing and strategy? Like
all of it answers up to your brand, always.
All of it.
All of it answers to your brand. If you're looking at yourself as far as, should I offer a new service? Should I take on this type of client? Whatever you should be doing, it always needs to answer to your brand. Your brand is not going to change. Your brand is who you are at your core. It's your core values, your beliefs, how you run your business and why. Everything else reports back to the brand, basically.
Feels very, I don't know, institutional. I don't know if that comes across. I mean, it's like, you know, it's like very Nike, very Coca-Cola, but done on a personal level.
It is. So think of like the swoosh for Nike or that orange color. You can see that anywhere in the world or hear the words, just do it. That's their brand. That is not going to change. All of the campaigns, all the marketing, the PR, everything they run is designed to answer up to your brand.
Well, so, you know, I mean, but we're small companies, right? So we're small, individual, little tiny places. I mean, I'm a small business, hopefully growing. So, same with Marcy, same with Brooke. How do we compete on the brand level when we're talking about finding our brand, but it's for our own personal thing? I mean, I feel a little like, am I even big enough to have supposedly a brand?
Well, to find it simple, you hire me. I mean, this is what I do.
So true. So true.
It's fun. I get to really work with a lot of different types of companies, and some of them are big corporate companies that are saying, how do we stand out? But I do take on a lot of small business clients because this is my happy place. I'm fortunate that I get to pick and choose who I work with. And a lot of it is small business to look at and say, who are you? How are you different? Why are you unique? What sets you apart from everyone? And then how do you amplify that? That's really the most important part of it, because there is a lot of noise. There are a lot of people out there in our industry doing what we do, but no one does it like you do. So what does make you so special, so unique? Why is your business the one that they should be calling?
Right. And
how do you figure that out and cut through all of the BS and get to those target clients that are your good clients, the great ones?
So so branding helps you figure out what your client base should be.
Yeah.
So how do you get through the bullshit? How do you cut through your own psyche? Because, and I'll bring the show up as a particular example. I mean, the three of us have been working on this show for over a year or almost a year at this point. We have kind of an idea of what we think the show says or how it comes across and what the branding is. But that's us. We're kind of in the storm, so to speak. We're in the hurricane. How do we become the meteorologist that's looking outside of it and says, no, that's not what your brand is. This is what your brand is. I know, hire you.
I am the eye of the storm, darling.
Right. But I mean, how do you cut through your own personal bullshit and get to a point that you understand what your own brand is realistically?
Well, step one is just realizing you need to do that. So the fact that you're even considering that, you're already partway there. I think that's the hardest part for people, is realizing that they're going to need to hear some hard truths, because especially with small business and with this baby, your podcast and everything you're creating, that's your child. You want to defend that. But the biggest part is being open to outside, sometimes criticisms. I think it's constructive. It has to be in a healthy manner, but you need to first take the step and be willing to hear those things. And when you bring someone in, what we look at, I do an overall brand audit, typically myself first.
Right.
Look at all of your social media, your websites, past clients. Like, I really delve in, and I don't want you to tell me anything about it. I just want to look with fresh eyes, and I want to see how you are perceived from an outside perspective. Then I talk to you, and we go through it all, and we really delve in to see, is this matching up with who you're telling me that you are? And that's when we start to really develop that game plan, that overall, how are we going to get you to where you need to be? We agree on what that is, what it looks like. Sometimes it's doing, and I still laugh because I don't know a different word for it. It's still an old school focus group. Like, I do focus groups. I want to talk to clients. I want to talk to current clients, upcoming clients. And, you start to get that perception of how they feel about working with you. A lot of companies too, I even go to clients who don't work with them anymore. I do that a lot with like the rental company side. We'll look and see why someone has not come back to you that used to be a client, and we'll talk to them and figure out what's broken. How do we need to fix this? What would get you back? And are you still the right client? Are you someone that we do want back?
I mean, one of the things that we've had to do as small businesses is learn how to say no to people, and I remember I was I appreciate the fact that you said, you have to look at yourself with fresh eyes, because that was one of the things that I talked about, is that on the show, we've had to get used to that bold face response, because, over social media, people are not shy about sharing their opinion with you. They are not shy. Oh my God. They're all of a sudden protected by this, Wi-Fi world, and they're willing to say whatever they want. But, sometimes there's some truth in that, and figuring out how to pause and listen to it is important.
And I think taking that pause and listening, and set those boundaries, though, especially on the social media side. Like you said, people are such keyboard warriors, having nothing better to do but sound off. If it's something that's constructive that I do need to look at, I'm going to pay attention to it. If it's someone that's just being outright mean and hideous,
right?
No, that's who gets blocked. I appreciate different perspectives. I appreciate people, giving me feedback, advice. I want to know what other people think. I don't want to live in this echo chamber and, only have like-minded people around me. So if it's something constructive, I'm all for it, even if it hurts at the beginning. But the minute you get mean or attack, I'm like, oh, no, we don't do this here.
Oh my goodness. Marcy?
So what kind of things have influenced you over the years? Where did you get your drive to get into the branding side of the industry?
I fell into the brand side. I'd always been catering, events, that whole side of things. I was on property with different hotels. Started up in the New York area, Western New York. And then I decided it was way too cold. I don't love snow. So I moved out to Vegas. And when I moved to Vegas to go work at MGM Grand, they were in the middle of a rebrand. They were going from, I don't know if you guys remember when it was the Wizard of Oz theme.
Yes.
And this adult contemporary playground. And that was when I was hired on. So I was swept into this huge rebrand and got to learn from the ground up without me realizing that was what I really enjoyed doing. And it just snowballed from there. I was fortunate to get that role and see these are my people. Like, I found it. This is what I should be doing. So I stayed with properties for a handful of years. 2009, I switched to the dark side. I became a vendor, and I wanted to figure out how to better brand our industry, the vendor side, the relationships. You know, I knew I had the on-property event experience. I wanted that outside experience as well. So I'm that dork. I love just learning things and pushing myself to know more. And if there's an opportunity, even if it sounds crazy, I'm like, I'm going to try that. Like, I think if I get that feeling in my stomach, those nerves, the butterflies, that's my cue. I should do this. And I was really successful with it. And enough people started calling and reaching out that in 2017, I launched my own firm doing it. And like I said, I'm fortunate that I get to pick and choose now. Companies come to me and we look and see, are we a good fit together?
Right.
You have those same end goals, that same core values, or it's just not going to work.
Well, I mean, you were named as one of the top most influential people in global events. I mean, come on. I mean, that's kind of a heavy task, a heavy burden to hold. It's like, oh, really? I'm that influential, you know, but that I've seen you speak. I've watched you speak. I mean, everybody loves you. I feel like your brand is kind of your shoes in your background. I'm looking at these high heels.
Bottoms, right? Sorry.
You know, and I love your Instagram. If you haven't gone to Kate Patay on her Instagram at Kate Patay, oh my goodness, you want to follow this woman. She's so funny and just has such a good time in life. It's just awesome to watch you. And I feel like that's part of your brand as well, right? It's just the joy.
Yes, the authenticity.
Right.
You know,
the
like,
authenticity
is what you get. And if you're going to follow my Instagram, just know after 7 p.m., I've probably had a glass of wine and there's going to be a bunch of curse words, and just, you know, prepare yourself. You're getting the real me on there.
Oh my God, it's the best.
So check in 7:15. Got it.
Well, okay. So, you know, when you're talking about your brand, you came back from a world of events. You talked about the fact that you started in, I'm assuming, sales, right? When you say you were catering.
I did operations first.
Oh, you did?
I did. Yes. That's what made me good at sales, is because I know the operations side. Like I wanted to know every single thing about the event. I've sat behind the table in the AV area. You know, I've expedited on a line in the kitchen. I've put myself in every situation, because I think then you can better sell it if you understand what you're selling at the core.
God, I love you right now. I can't even tell you how much I love you right now, because I mean, I have been saying that forever and ever, because that's what made me great at sales when I was in sales, is that, you know, you got to know what everybody is doing and the trials and tribulations, so to speak, that everybody has to deal with. So then you got into sales, and then you said that you decided to leave sales. What was that reason that you said, you know what, I want to do something different? Was it because you were looking for a new opportunity? You were, you know, what was that spark that made you go to MGM?
Well, like I said, the spark to MGM was the snow. I was so over being
That really is it. That really was the thing that you were like, you know what? I'm done with the snow. I want to move to someplace. What's opposite? Okay, Las Vegas, 120 degrees.
They could have told me. Frankly, I'd been stuck in my house in New York for 9 days. 7 days. We got 9.5 feet of snow in just over a day. We were all trapped in our houses. No one had electricity. And I was just sitting there like, this is the worst. The minute I get a job offer somewhere warm, I'm going. I don't care what it is. I'll clean a toilet. Like, I am.
Who needs cover when you've got Christmas and winter?
I know. I was just like, make your life choices based on, you know, weather.
I did.
Oh, that's true. You did too.
I'm from up there. I've been down here over 10 years now. I'm not going back.
No. If anybody likes the warm weather. Okay, so then you get into the MGM and they already have this Wizard of Oz thing, and you get caught up in the whole machinery. Where do you start when going, okay, I've got this huge company? Because obviously we can learn these lessons for a smaller company. Where did you start? How do you start looking at a big brand like this and start looking at the truth? You know, how do you
small digestible pieces? Whether you're a big company or a small one, you need to look at it, and then you just start breaking down what those steps are. If you try and always look big picture, right, it's going to be overwhelming. You're going to be stuck procrastinating, or just being so overwhelmed you don't know where to go next. There's this huge list. So what you have to do is break that down. You prioritize it. You figure out what's next, and make sure that you're checking everything off and completing it. You know, I started with their beverage department actually, and had one specific property that we were opening, rebranding, and then started moving out into the 32 other beverage outlets that were there at the time.
Right. And then, so can color be part of a brand?
Oh, hell yeah.
Well,
You
yeah,
know,
right.
all my pink and everything. You guys knew me before I started my company, and everyone thought for sure when I started it, there would be this like sleek black and have like a red undertone to it, just like my favorite shoes up this corner behind me. And I didn't. I went with really soft pink tones and a very unassuming feminine color palette because a lot of times I'm a catalyst of change.
Right.
I'm coming in to tell you what might be broken, what might be wrong. And that can be a really bitter pill to swallow. Those are tough words to hear, especially when something's your baby and you're proud of it and you've worked so hard to get to where you are. And change is scary for whoever's working for you as well. So I purposely chose these really soft tones so that your first impression of me is a lot softer and delicate versus coming off as that very sleek, New York style, just come in and get business done. Because
right.
I want you to open up to me, to not be afraid of what's coming.
So that's interesting because, as somebody that knows you, you're very sleek, you're very professional, you're very polished on every level. So it's interesting that you chose a brand that was slightly different than what your core is in order to get more people in. I'm trying to figure out where that change happened.
It's part of the voice, how you come across. And I think I still present on a lot of times very sleek, professional, like you said, on that side.
Yeah.
But people's first impression of me when I have a company that'll bring me in, like a large hotel chain, a luxury brand of chains, and their people know I'm coming in the door, they're going to look me up online. Right. They check me out. They go to my website, and that's the first thing that they then see. So people aren't afraid of me coming in and asking those questions because they, if it was super sleek New York look still, they would look like, oh gosh, like it would be like the shark coming into the room. And I don't want that. I want someone to have a genuine, real conversation with me. So that was why I chose those softer tones on it.
And who helped you? Who helped you figure out those tones?
I did my whole brand myself.
which is incredible because, it's like, I wouldn't even know where to start when it came to my own branding. Luckily I had, marketing people, but does marketing kind of fall into the world of branding? Does that, because I feel like it does. Color choice seems to fall in there.
It does. Yeah. And I looked at all of those. I did have someone actually then design my site, my logo. I'm not going to pretend that I'm a graphics person. I think that's part of the authenticity and knowing who you are. I can look and tell you what works and what doesn't. I can tell you how you're being perceived by something, but I'm not the one that's going to sit there behind the keyboard doing the coding for you, doing the SEO side of stuff. I'm the one you bring in to help with the overarching side of it. And then we bring the professionals in, I think, and especially weddings, all of this, I'm preaching to the choir here, hire a professional.
Yes, that's always.
Do so you go to the best. That's how you're going to be the best and get the best results. I just had a call with a photographer for weddings, and I was asking him what makes him unique, and the fact that he had worked on weddings for about 3 years before starting his own business. And all I could think of was this one time I'd gone to a wedding and there's a photographer, and when everyone starts clinking their glasses for the new couple to kiss, everyone's clinking away. He turns and starts taking photos of the audience tapping their glasses, not realizing that's a cue for the bride and groom to kiss. So he missed those shots because he was not a professional. They got the best priced person, not the best person for the job.
Oh gosh. And the thing is that but this show is obviously we want people to call you and hire you. But if you're a small company, especially because of COVID and everything that's happened, and a lot of people are really trying to figure out how do they pivot their business, how do they become more authentic to themselves, what is the first step for them? What do they do to say, okay, I gotta take my first step in finding out what my brand really is? What do you say is kind of your first step?
I have everyone that I could potentially work with schedule a 15-minute Zoom call with me. I do a 15-minute, there's no charge, just let's have a conversation. Let's make sure that we mesh, that we get along, that we're the right fit, that I'm the right fit in what you're actually needing.
You need to load up on Prozac before this. I'm just saying.
And before I do the call, I just do a real cursory glance at who it is so that I know who I'm talking to and educate myself. And if it's going to be the right fit, if it's someone that, we do have the same vision and what we need, I typically start with a brand audit. And, that's, like I said, looking over all your social media, your website. I'll go into your canned responses, your proposals, what you're emailing to your clients, how you come across. I mean, it's a real deep dive into it. And from there, just with that audit, what I do is prepare the overview. And we schedule a call. We go back over that again, usually about an hour-ish.
Right.
And depending on the client, some people are set up for success and they have a good team and they can go and they can implement that themselves. Other times people bring me on and we do a short-term project and I help implement, get it started, get it going. And then sometimes I'll go on retainer with clients. I have a couple for this coming year that we worked together Q4 of last year. And then this year they have me as that accountability person. Every month we sit down, we look at, are we accomplishing everything we have to? Is it still coming across?
Right.
We audit the social media, but everyone's different. Some people just need that overall blueprint and I hand it to them and they run. Yeah. Others, I kind of stay and I hold their hand and we do it together for a while.
Smart.
So Kate, I actually have a question for you about colors and branding and so forth. I attended several of your classes, and one of my questions to you is, I know in the past you've paid attention to other people's blogs or Facebook or Instagram pages or magazines and so forth. What things are you paying attention to now?
Oh, following along to see what's upcoming?
Yes.
Gosh, it's still such a huge mix. And I know exactly what you're talking about. I tell people I am subscribed to every blog, every magazine. I want to know what's upcoming. Obviously, articles that jump out, I sit and delve into and I read like a maniac because I'm not one that typically watches television. I never even turned on Netflix until quarantine started.
So crazy.
I know. I love to read. I love data, that kind of stuff. So every blog that's out there, even if it's from a different industry,
right?
Good advice. I have it all come to my inbox and I'm not going to sit there and read 50 blogs every day, but I scan them and you can really take the temperature of things and see what's going on, what's upcoming. I flip through all of the magazines. You'll start to see, if you just see to one or two spots, it's typically more of a fad. But once you start to see the same types of messaging across multiple platforms, then you can really pick up like, all right, this has some meat to it. This is going to be here for a while. So that's how you really take the temperature of fads versus trends, what's upcoming.
What's a big no-no? What's the number one no-no that you go, I'm doing a deep dive, you need to get this out of your social media today? What's a big one?
Oh, man. I'm kind of a grammar junkie. So when people post and there's no punctuation and no grammar, or they talk about themselves in the third person, but it's clearly them saying those words, you're like, ooh, no. And be yourself, have opinions, stand for something kind of thing, but don't be the person that posts 75 times in a row from some crazy right-wing or left-wing website that has such a strong opinion.
Right.
Like, you're allowed to be yourself and have opinions, but when you throw that in people's faces, they have the right to not want to work with you or disengage from you.
It's so funny that you brought up punctuation because my mom, God bless her, that was the very first thing that she said when we went into business. She goes, "Your writing is atrocious." She goes, and it's still bad. I've gotten much better, but it was her number one thing. She said, people, that's how it's not just the picture, they're reading. And if you come across sounding like an idiot, and you're not using proper pronunciation or even the proper words, they're going to see that as a reflection of you.
Yeah.
And
you're there and there, like, oh man.
Oh, come on. Right. Or, and of course that goes back to your branding. Like, what if, being not, what if you're down with the language of the millennials is your brand? I'm just making stuff up here as we go, but so that's a big no. But what is what's a common mistake people do when they're discovering their brand?
Trying to be everything to everyone. You don't need to be. You find the right client, you find the good clients, and that's who you work with. Then it doesn't feel like work. If every time you see your phone ring and you go, ugh, clients, then you should be excited to pick up the phone and talk to them and work with them.
Well, but that's really a bitter pill to try to take, to say, what, I need to figure out who. It's almost like you're saying that your brand is your personal friendships. Like you're figuring out who you want to be friends with, because that's going to tell other people what you're like. Like, Mean Girls Club. You knew who were the mean girls because of Regina, who they're hanging out with. And does that also come into figuring out your brand, what companies you associate yourself with?
Is today Wednesday? Are we wearing pink?
Yeah. No, actually, no.
You can't sit with us. But you can come on our show.
Yeah, that's funny.
So great.
I completely lost that, by the way.
It's going to save you time, really. If you can figure out who that client is, it's called a buyer persona.
Right.
And that's, the buyer persona is your ideal client, and they all look different. Maybe you're better at the DIY style and you want to just work with people to kind of refine their special day. Maybe you're best at being the overall planner, start to finish for things, and it's very high end. But your buyer persona, it's looking at, where do they shop? Where do they eat? What do they drive? All of those things, what style are they? Are you whimsical and romantic, or are you cutting edge? There's all these differences, and you're not going to be everything to everyone. So it's really figuring out that aesthetic. I have a couple of wedding clients that I work with, and it's really owning who you are. If you have this amazing, gorgeous aesthetic that is always romantic and whimsical, and it's a specific look, that's what people are going to hire you for. So you're going to market to people that want that look, not, this crazy cutting edge light show that's going to show up every single time. So it's figuring out what you're really good at. There's a new show. See, Netflix. I'm watching television now like a crazy person.
Oh.
On Netflix with
wild.
Yeah, I know, right?
I got hooked on The Crown, by the way. That was
my God, it's the best. That's not TV. That's information.
That's history,
that's
darling.
historical. That's the History Channel.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Oh, you need to
what?
And then I'll come back on.
It's so good.
Talk about The Crown for an hour.
Okay, I'm writing it down.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So Marcy?
Yes. So where would you say, like, if you were to tell people what would be the one thing that you knew going into this way back, what would your landscape be?
Mine personally, or what someone else needs to look for?
What somebody else would need to look at. Like, what would be like the number one thing you would tell people to look at when they're looking at going into, whether they're going into branding or they're going into catering or something? What would be the one thing that you would tell people to look at in trying to brand themselves?
Make sure you love it and that you're good at it. I went to, when I first started on the catering side of things, doing events, conferences, huge meetings, I loved that. And then for a brief time, I thought I wanted to do weddings. It sounded amazing and lovely, and it get to be all touchy-feely and work with brides. And I did my first wedding, and I was like, ugh. It was not for me. And I know that about me. I'm not a wedding planner, and I'm not ever going to be. There are amazing ones out there. And if that's what you love, that's what you should be doing. But be open to what the options are out there and figure out what one really speaks to you and what you're really good at, and then go for that. It's, again, just not trying to be everything to everyone. If every person that calls you, you say yes to, who's going to be the best DJ, cake baker, florist, limo driver out there? If you tell me that, I'm like, excuse me, what do you do? Kind of thing. So it's finding out what that niche is that you're really great at, and run with it and make that your career, your passion.
How has COVID changed the idea of branding?
This is the time to figure out what your revenue streams are, what works for you, and really get rid of all the extra that's out there. Some people were just having fun and yes to everything, and here's what we do. And we've drilled down in a lot of companies and figured out what is the bread and butter, what that comes in the door is the money maker for you. And there's some things that sometimes have to be let go. That, they might be fun. You might enjoy doing that. But if it's more like an expensive hobby, then that's not going to be successful for you long term. So
that's actually an interesting turn, actually, when you say expensive hobby, because so many people pivoted, quote unquote, pivoted their business. And, and they pivoted it because it was COVID time, because they had to. But what if it was counteractive to their overall brand? I mean, have you seen that? And
yes.
How do people correct that?
It's figuring out ways of what you do that you can then move them into the revenue stream, the income source. I just heard, I was listening the other day, there's Clubhouse app that's out now.
Right.
It's all different conversations. I've really been enjoying that. And there was a conversation that I was in and I was having with entrepreneurs. And what we were discussing is, how did you make it profitable during this? And there was a gentleman and I was like, this man is a genius. I'm following him right away. I want to see everything he's doing. He took what he did and he loved. So he rented luxury cars, think like Lamborghinis, all of that, to people. And he would rent those out, whether it was for an hour, a day, a week, whatever they wanted. And that was his business, was luxury car rentals. And clearly no one's doing that. You know, as soon as March 11th hit, that all changed. No one was renting, everyone canceled. So he looked and he said, this is what I have the model for. I know how to rent cars, what to do, what can I do? His pivot was he went and he said like 13 Toyota Corollas and started renting them to food drivers to do Grubhub and all of those delivery services.
Oh, smart.
Yeah. He sat down and he looked at, okay, here's where I'm at. What can I rent cars for? How do I do it? So it's looking at what you're already doing. How do I apply that somewhere else? You know, I'm a rental company, but no one's having outdoor events.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to go do permanent tenting structures for restaurants, for hospitals, for all of those. You know, you look at what you're an expert at and you push that into a new type of demographic, basically.
Love that. And then you mentioned wedding couples earlier. Do wedding couples actually hire branding professionals like you for like, let's say that they're a better known couple?
Mm-hmm.
You know, is there such thing as branding a wedding?
I've worked with a couple of planners. I don't typically work with any couples direct, but I have had planners call me to say, hey, what should this look like? And looking at the hashtags and what type of site they put together. If they're more high profile, I'll do a glance at it. It's not something that I consistently do or press, but they pop up occasionally, and you will get someone that needs that extra look of, how do we present this? Especially now, you know, the perception is reality. And if someone's traveling to have an event, of course, they're going to be attacked on that side of things. So how do you stay ahead of that narrative? How do you control the narrative?
Right.
And put information out in a positive way before people can attack.
It really sounds like your world kind of merges PR and marketing all into kind of.
Uh-oh.
Oops.
He is not doing this to me again.
You're totally right, Keith. It does merge it all. People, like you were saying, like Megan Ely, who you had on a few times, is amazing and incredible. And if I want something really specific PR-wise, that's who I'm going to call for that side of things, because she's a pro at that. You know, that's my job, is to know who to go to and to have all of those connections for it so that you get the best of the best. We identify your need. I help in the spots that I'm able to and that are in my wheelhouse. And then if it's something that's out of my scope, then I hire the best to do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say, like the Tana and Jake wedding,
Mm-hmm.
how would you, so let's do damage control. I want to see, like, how would you do damage control? So let's flip the coin up a little bit. So how do you save something that is a complete disaster?
First, it's owning it. It's kind of like if you make a bad first impression, how you have to come back. You know, you first own what it is. And if you're in the wrong, you apologize. And then you have to pivot it to something a little bit more positive. You change that narrative. That's really the base of what any PR that you need to recover from looks like. And, you know, figuring out if you're wrong. I've been attacked on things before, and they're, how dare you say that? Or why would you do those things? And if I've been wrong, I'm going to apologize for it and figure out a positive way to move forward. And then there's times I've stood my ground and been like, this wasn't wrong. Here's why I said it. I still believe this, and this is who I am. And because you took it that way doesn't mean that's what it is.
I said what I said.
Crisis PR is crazy. One of my best girlfriends, like, that's all she does is crisis PR. So, you know, when like Carmel is burning to the ground in September and October, the city reached out to her to do their PR of, how do we still figure out what tourism is going to look like? We're closed because of COVID, plus half of our city burned down. Now what? So every situation's different, but I think it's really digging into the root of it. You know, is it something you did wrong or something that was perceived wrong? And then how do you move forward with that and own it? You know, if you did something wrong, just own your shit, man. That's where I'm at.
But if you're a decent human being, you know, no one's perfect.
No.
Now, I also know that you are very involved with AllSeated, which we had on a couple of weeks ago. We had on Sandy Hammer. And what are you doing with them at this point?
I've been an ambassador for AllSeated for a handful of years now. When they, really started breaking into this and looking to see from event pros what they needed to do to be the go-to resource. We have a really cool event. I'll post that in the comments after this on the 7th. It's Thursday of this week.
I'll be there.
Yay. So you can register. There's no charge to register. They do ask that you put a donation to Search Foundation, which is near and dear to my heart as the recipient to get into it. But it's with their new space called Exvo. It's such a cool resource. It's getting to bring together exhibitors again. And, we can't all do face-to-face yet. And a lot of people for a while won't be able to. Like, I know some areas are coming back to it, some aren't. So how do you make people feel better connected and really get that human connection that you can lack behind a screen sometimes? And that's what they've developed. All of their developers and people who write it all are gamers. And I mean, gamers led the charge with this. They kicked our cute little event butts when it came to putting together the best software out there. So they had it all designed by gamers with input from the event industry. So it's a really cool platform. It's on Thursday, the 7th. Just go to AllSeated to register, or we can drop a link in here. And you get to just check it out. You get this avatar that walks you through the floor. You get to see the event space. Dave Adler and Brett Culp will be part of it. And then there's a couple of rooms. There's East Coast, West Coast. So Michael Cervelli designed the East Coast room. Natasha Miller from Entire Productions designed the West Coast room. And then the whole event was designed by Dave Merrill out of LA. So it's interesting to see how these designers, who in my mind have had some of the most gorgeous events I've ever seen in person, have now brought that virtual and still managed to lead the pack with it. So it'll be cool to see the technology.
Well, I'm so sorry about that. Hello, welcome to live shows. My whole world just completely collapsed on my side. So sorry about that. I'm back. Sorry.
Well, in the meanwhile, Keith, I've taken over. So this is now.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
It's so nice to have you today.
Well, and I love the fact that you were talking about AllSeated, because we had Sandy on a couple of episodes ago, and she was just brilliant. I mean, the idea of how they developed and where they came from, and when we talk about branding, I feel like AllSeated is a perfect example of how branding happened organically, because they were partnerships with venues and wedding planners and planners in general. They really started becoming like the best friend. Mm-hmm. And that's how I feel like they come across, is that they're there to be your best tool. And that's kind of their brand. It's like, we're going to be your partner in this.
And yesterday they announced that they hired Nick Borelli full-time on the marketing side. So they're going to absolutely.
It's going to be amazing for him. I mean, he's like
rock star.
Really,
he is rock star. Yeah. If anybody doesn't know who Nick is, you look him up. You're going to be like, what? So it's a real win for AllSeated. Yes. When we're talking about small companies, and I'm going to go back to talking about small companies, is, let's say that during COVID, somebody pivoted their business and now they want to take that pivot. And let's say they were into real estate and they realized that they were very good at creating small backyard parties. Mm-hmm. That's a completely different vibe. That's a completely different direction. Now they have to recreate that. What are some great first steps for them to get kind of their name out there, mm-hmm. and their new business? How do they change the perception that people go, oh, wait, you did real estate forever and ever. How do you change that idea that, oh, that's the real estate guy, to, oh no, that's the guy that does these fabulous backyard events? Mm-hmm.
My style with that is I tend to do little lead-ins to it and then hit when I know that full overall brand, the little bit of teasers. I had done teasers for about a year leading into my business, knowing I was going to open it, but not knowing an exact date yet. So just little things that kind of start to change people's mindset and perception of you. And in the meanwhile, you are 100% behind the scenes working on finalizing the brand and what it looks like. So the most expensive mistake you can make is to go and launch a whole brand and then figure out that I either don't like the colors or the fonts or the messaging or whatever this looks like. That's a huge expensive mistake when you don't love your logo, for instance. I had someone come to me after they had theirs done. And when we went to change it over to grayscale or black and white, we figured out that the colors wouldn't reverse. And so after they paid a huge exorbitant amount for this logo, it would not work in anything but full color. And we know not everything always comes out full color.
Yeah.
It's those little things to look at, like make sure all of that's right. Make sure that you like your taglines and that you're truly ready to launch, and then you're launching the right way.
Well, and I think that that's a hard thing for a lot of people to do, is take a step back and take your time. I mean, I'm a perfect example of that. I thought I had the best business card ever when and I look back at it now and I go, oh my God, what was I thinking? It's like the worst colors. It doesn't say wedding at all. It feels very juvenile, but that's sometimes it's just about being in the business and having
But
some
look
experience.
at how fabulous we are now.
Right, exactly. But I mean, sometimes just takes some time, but of course people could save on that time if they just hired you. And they're just like,
listen, you're still the best human being on the planet, Keith Willard. I don't care about you drop your mic and your bow tie. You were so fabulous.
I know. I had to drop I had a bow tie and a microphone on my old logo, and everybody kept thinking, are you a singer? I'm like, believe me, I'm the last thing that you want is a singer.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. So, it's also about figuring out how does your brand come across?
And I've been hired on that side. People hire me for, 2-3 hours and just be like, hey, let's just work on this side, good, bad, or indifferent. There was one company that already gone through with the whole brand and they had done everything on black, which was gorgeous, having a black business card and everything's amazing.
Right.
Every piece of collateral when we still handed out collateral. And so they were already so far in that process.
Right.
My job was to then figure out how do we work with what you already created without having to recreate it all. So it was, her brand was then handing out like gold pens to write on that very dark background and making that part of everything. So it was possible because, you always want to have white space in areas so that if you're, when you're at a trade show and you used to exchange business cards, people would make notes about how they met you or what was going on. You brought up Nick Borelli. When he did this years ago, I was like, that's amazing. This is why you are an amazing strategist. He made, just for trade shows, his business cards had his logo, all of his info. And then on the other side, it was, hi, I'm Nick. You met me and we talked about blank and call me to follow up about blank. And he would fill that in and then hand them his business card. We talked about social media strategy on Instagram. Call me to follow up at whatever that was. And it's like, that's fantastic to think ahead to that. But, when you design a logo, a brand, you look at it, you're like, it's beautiful. I love it.
Right.
You need someone to come in and say, and poke some holes in it and be like, have you thought of this? Have you looked at that?
Right. And how do you do that without putting your own personal taste in it? That's got to be hard.
My personal taste, you probably don't want me to look at yours then, frankly. And that's why I do an introductory call with people first to make sure of that. Because there are some people that have reached out that they're not the right fit, the aesthetic and what they want and what they're going for. There's, like you said, you thought yours looked a little juvenile at one point.
Oh, it did. There was not even a question.
They only wanted like Comic Sans as their font, which makes me want to die a little on the inside. Even read anything in that font, they weren't a good fit for me, and that's okay. I know that about me, so I refer them to someone that was a better fit. I don't just outright say no. I'm going to help guide you to someone, even if it's not me.
And I do that all the time, actually, with couples. It's like, sometimes I'm like, oh, we are not a good fit, but I know somebody that is, and let me make an introduction. And that if I'm making the introduction, you should be able to count on it, because I'm not going to give up business just willy-nilly. I'm going to make sure that it's good karma leading forward, and I think that
it could be bad, depending on who got referred to who.
That's true.
So you actually brought up a good point about business cards. Now that we are in this state of COVID, what would you say moving forward, once we come out of COVID, how to get your brand across in a tangible way when you meet somebody in person?
I don't use business cards a lot. I tend to connect on social media first, and depending on what type of connection it is and who I'm talking to, there's some people like Keith, you were just saying it's super fun, follow Instagram, but there's some business connections I would never send to my Instagram page. So a little bit to me on that page.
Funny.
So my LinkedIn is very active. That's where I'm a ambassador for like Meetings Mean Business and some of these bigger overarching organizations that are really helping with our industry and the serious side of meetings and how we bring that back together, and writing articles and traveling on the brand ambassador side. So that's very much my LinkedIn. You're going to get the more serious Kate side. And I think it's the social media side is how we're going to connect and stay connected with people. So I'll do it on the spot sometimes. I'll be like, hold on, let me find you before I forget.
Right. Well, and actually, the question I was going to ask right before my computer decided to act like God, it was the whole idea of social media influencer, love it or hate it?
And this is
See?
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm like, hold on a second. I'm not properly seated for this. Here we go.
If someone's sitting there like, I'm an influencer,
Yeah.
you have to say those words, you're not. It's like, I'm so fancy. No, you're not. You have to say that you are. Like, you either are or you're not. So the ones that are out there influencing are the ones that truly sway decisions. I feel like that's more the micro influencer. When you I have a lot of people that reach out to me for travel, to go to different destinations, to experience them and talk about my experience with them. And, what are the great parts of this and why would I go? And I'll go to the spas and I do excursions. But there's people that wouldn't consider even speaking to me on that side because they've had an influencer reach out to them who basically just wants a free vacation.
Yeah.
So they can have fun and make their own Instagram look pretty. And there's no real end goal in it. My goal is to get people traveling again, get our industry moving forward. We all have a really vested interest in our industry reopening in ways and people feeling comfortable and safe to travel again. So it's finding the right person. And I'd seen, it was a while ago, but I had seen a comparison of what you can get when you're truly hiring someone with influence that people make decisions based on and they trust versus paying $1 million a post to Kim Kardashian. Yes, a lot of people are going to see that. You are absolutely correct. But she has such a higher level of income, of brand, of perception.
Right.
People don't think it's attainable. So they're going to see it, but they're going to think it's not for them because who really travels like Kim Kardashian every day? I wish for my 40th I had booked all my friends on a flight to Bora Bora. It's not how
Wouldn't that be amazing? Well, and I actually brought that up a long time ago.
In our budget.
Yeah, right. Well, and I actually brought that up a long time ago when I was doing this little thing. I said, like, not everybody has a Kim Kardashian budget. That's just not part of reality. And sometimes when you're talking about branding and about just life in general, sometimes you have to go back into reality and say, look, this is the real world. And yeah, there are influencers out there, and yeah, they're the flash in the pan, but that's what they are. They're a flash in the pan. And you don't want to be the flash in the pan. You want to be longevity.
Yes, longevity is where it's at for sure. I don't want a 15 minutes of fame. That's not good for anybody. It's building real, genuine, authentic relationships. Like you said, you refer people out. That's it's your name out there, is doing the right thing every single time. And I've had people reach out and offer me money to say things about their products. And if it's not true to me and something I would really honestly actually use, I'm not going to do it. That cheapens your brand basically. So if you hear me talking about something, know that I'm really truly going to use that. And that's when you find someone appropriate for it. And
someone that has absolutely no integrity at all.
There you go.
That's
You can tell when someone's just doing it, it goes to the highest bidder. It dilutes everything about you at that point. It cheapens all of it.
Right.
And if you get the right ambassador or influencer, that's your biggest salesperson right there, because I can talk about you, Keith, and why you're the best planner out there. Marcy, why I only want to call you for my stationery work, why you're the most amazing. Like, this is why we work together for it.
Right.
I can sell you all day long. I don't want to sell me though. That comes off as boastful and arrogant at times. So if you're hiring the right people to say those words for you, like you talked about AllSeated. I'm one of their ambassadors. I'm going to walk into every room and be like, but have you heard of AllSeated? They can't do that. They're going to look like silly if they do that. But I can.
They have now.
Well, and the thing is, I do that anyway for them, and I'm not paid because I just love them. I do. I just love them. Anyway, Marcy, you were saying something.
Yes. Okay. So, Kate, you touched on Search Foundation not too long ago today, and I wanted to kind of let you have tell people what you do with the Search Foundation now.
Currently, I'm the chairwoman for the Search Foundation. So,
congratulations.
Thank you. Term through 2022. There are 3-year terms that we do. Search stands for Special Event Assistance Relief and Crisis Help. So Search started at the height of the AIDS epidemic when our industry colleagues were all getting sick. People were dying. We didn't know why. by nature, we're all so hospitable. We want to help people. So the Search Foundation was started. And as word got out about it to different event hospitality catering professionals, they started asking for other illnesses. I have cancer or I'm sick. Can you help me? So they expanded the scope. It was for any type of catastrophic illness. And then in 95, when Hurricane Katrina hit, people started reaching out to Search again, saying there's been this huge disaster. We've lost so many venues, rental companies, our homes, our industry is dire. So the scope of Search changed once again. So It's catastrophic occurrences for individuals. And so this year we've had cases for COVID, for cancer, the wildfires in Australia, the wildfires in Napa, the earthquakes that were in Puerto Rico, the floods in the Bahamas, the floods in Houston. There's been, I think of some of the horrible things. There was a rental company driver. He was one of their production drivers for their AV. He lost his eyesight, so he applied to Search. Someone lost their house in a gas explosion this year. There's just been so many crazy things that happen on top of COVID.
Yeah.
So Search is crisis relief for individuals. It's all funded by our industry.
And if somebody needs help in the industry, and how do they reach out to Search?
It's searchfoundation.org. All the information's on the website. So if you need to apply for assistance, it's there. And everyone that applies is graded on, it's anonymous, the way it's graded. So all of your personal information is redacted. It goes to a group of professionals that rotates out through a committee we have that judges them on a rubric based on what it would be. Date. Since inception, since we got our 501c3 in 97, we have funded 100% of qualified cases. That's huge.
That's amazing. Actually, that is amazing. And if somebody wants to donate to Search, same way?
Searchfoundation.org. There's a donate button there. There's also, we just came out with it this year and I'm super proud of it. Our board and Judy Brillhart from Boston, they all got together and helped and put together a fundraising toolkit. So what we did was we took, all of these organizations, all of these chapters, everyone supports Search. I mean, I feel like Search is kind of the Switzerland of the industry. You don't have to be part of an organization. We're not aligned with one specific one. All of them support us and support our mission because we'll help any individual in the industry. You don't need to have a membership anywhere. So we talked to all of these chapters and organizations and individuals that have fundraised successfully and said, how did you do it? What are the best practices? And we put together this toolkit. So whether you want to host a fundraiser, have just maybe the proceeds from an auction go to it. In New Orleans now, a bunch of chapters, they have this little box because we helped rebuild so many houses for them. There's a little house and people will literally, we probably can't now after COVID, but they would literally put like change and money into it. And then at the end of the year, present all of that to Search Foundation, so funny. Michael Thurbelli up in New York, one of my favorite people, every single quarter, he sends me an email because he uses smile.amazon.com.
Right.
If you use that, you can choose Search Foundation, and then every single thing you buy on Amazon, like it's 0.02% or something goes back to that foundation. And Michael buys everything on Amazon, and he has his company buy through it as well. So every quarter, he's like, "Look how much I donated just from shopping on Amazon." So it all counts.
Especially now, because obviously everybody does shopping through Amazon. So that 0.002 makes a bigger difference than ever.
Mm-hmm.
It's just interesting. And then you said you're chairwoman through 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, that's a big responsibility to shoulder. Plus maintaining your own business. How do you keep that balance?
Oh, of course, I chose the timing to chair a crisis relief foundation during the biggest crisis any of us will ever witness in our lifetime.
I was just thinking, it was like,
wow. From Christian of a town.
Yeah, exactly.
Announced just before this all started, I believe, right?
Yeah, I actually, so as of January 1st, 2020, I had officially started, but I actually took the role 2 months early because we had an early transition. So November of 2019 was when I actually started. This goes through December of 22. We do this for continuity.
Right.
Every single year, a third of our board changes over. So every single September, we have a call for nominations. There's 18 of us on the board. So every year there's 6 spots that open. And even if you're already on the board, you do have to reapply again because we want to make sure that we have
time growth. Love it.
Yeah, very much. I mean, there's a term limit, obviously.
We want to make sure that we have good ideas, good minds, everyone stepping forward. Just your give back. I feel like we have a lot of organizations and I fully support all of them. I've been a member of pretty much every single one of them in alphabet soup. And that's what gave us the foundation to be successful. That's how you find your people. That's how you build and grow your business and you make these great connections. All of us with Search and that are part of the 100, it's kind of like we've gotten there in our careers. This is our give back to our industry.
Right.
And cool to see a lot of the younger generation that has now stepped up to see what we all do and say, I don't have, like, we have a Search 100 program. People give a minimum of $100 a month in perpetuity. Sometimes it's an individual. Some of them are companies. Some give $1,000 a month. Everyone's in a different position. So we've had like students reach out though and say, can you just sign me up to do $5 a month?
See, that's amazing.
It all counts. When someone's in crisis, when someone has lost their house, when someone's lost their eyesight, it all counts. So every single penny goes back into that crisis relief fund.
Well, they said Obama was elected president not by the people that gave $1 million, but by the people that gave $1.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, if you have 1 million people that give $1, that's still $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a lot easier to get people to give. So if somebody wanted to get in touch with you or wanted to look you up or wanted to hire you, how do they do that?
Just go to katepatay.com. Everything. I've made myself so easy to reach at Kate Patay, Kate at katepatay.com. Like literally type my name and you're going to get a bunch of ridiculous results and probably some pictures of me from the 90s with really bad hair too.
Yes. I'm doing that now.
Yeah.
Like, done. I'm doing that now. Oh my goodness. I love the fact that you said that. That's funny. Well, and so it's Kate Patay, and so it's Kate Patay everywhere. It's social media, all your LinkedIn, your Instagram, your all of that.
All of it. I know I told my husband that he could never leave me because I stole his name.
Oh my God, you'll be the next Tina Turner. I'm taking my name. Taking my name.
I kept husband number 1, last name I'm on number 3.
Oh yeah. That's right.
Haley Page, hi. Oh my gosh, are you following her new page?
No. What?
Oh, so much drama in the wedding industry with JLM owning the Haley Page name, and she's literally not allowed to say her own name online. They've taken over Instagram. So she now has All That Glitters on the Gram as her new Instagram to try and promote herself. In the contract, they literally own her name. She's not allowed to use her own name.
Did you help her?
Yeah, did you help her?
I would. My goodness. I feel like she's got quite a team going right now. But yeah, check out the whole feud online or just put in JLM Haley Page right now. And you're going to be like, oh, like so much tea spilled everywhere.
I love it. Well, and we've talked about social media a ton over the last hour. What are the top 3 social media sites that people should be paying attention to? Because there's just so much. There's just so much to try to keep in control or keep on top of. What are the big ones that people should say, you know what, if you're going to do anything with your branding, these are the 3 sites or 4 sites that you need to pay attention to?
They might change a little based on who you are and who your audience is.
Right.
You are right, though, by saying like 3 to follow, because you would rather have 3 really awesome pages that you're kicking ass at than 6 mediocre ones. So you choose the ones that are there. I personally like Instagram. I think that works well for the wedding industry. A lot of people in weddings still like Pinterest. It doesn't work on my business, so I don't use it really. I'm the LinkedIn, the Facebook, the Instagram girl, because I feel like the LinkedIn you connect with the family side, the Facebook, sorry, is the family side. LinkedIn is the business side, and then Instagram's all my pretty photos and me getting to be me. News feeds for Twitter. I don't tell a lot. If you're a planner, what are you going to get out of Twitter? I mean, brides aren't going online to look for your wedding specials. They're going online for news. So, shut that page down, or I typically, if you're going to close down a page, what I say is, if it's your name, own it. Like I own every single Kate Patay on every single platform. And if it's not something I use, I put up a post that just says, for more information or to find me, please go here. And I redirect them to whatever social media I do want them on, whether that's LinkedIn, Facebook,
And I love actually that last little bit of tip. It's like, own your
checked
name.
all the boxes, Keith.
Right. Oh, right. Exactly. No, I that was one of the things that even if I had my company with a different name, I wanted to own my own name. I wanted it because I knew that there's got to be another Keith Willard out there. And there are a lot. And just look up the obituaries, because every day I see a new obituary with Keith Willard. It's just stupid. Anyway, it's the worst.
I was talking about the social media platforms, not your name, sir, but that's fine too.
No, it's the worst, because as you get into the PR you have to look up your own name consistently, and it gets a little like, really?
So someone was impersonating me on TikTok. When I went to start my TikTok account, someone already had Kate Patay, and they used my photo, and they made it private. So of course I started one and friended them like, hey, bitch.
Oh, I wish somebody would try to Brooke Stoner me, honey. I wish they would.
That's
Oh, can you
awesome.
imagine?
Well,
Can you
guys,
imagine?
that was our hour. I just want to say thank you so much, Kate Patay, for coming on the show. I love you. I love what you do. If there's anybody out there that is in need of somebody that can definitely direct them in the right direction for their branding, you got to reach out to Kate Patay. Also, she's an international speaker. I love when every time that she's speaking at some type of organization or event that I go to, I make sure to go to it because it's always informative. It's always interesting, and she's always polished. But she's as authentic as she came across on the show. Thank you so much.
And when you hit the podcast, she's really pretty too, you guys. Really pretty. Just saying.
This is one group. Thanks for having me.
And Brooke Logan Stoner and Marcy Gutenberg, thank you so much. Welcome to season 2.
Thank you.
All right, everybody,
welcome.
say goodbye.
Goodbye.